Good afternoon, folks. We are back on our crafting list, and after getting everything working last night and then losing it and then retrieving it, we are going to try something that I've actually never done before, which is to capture a right click. So with that in mind, what we have done is create an override, which you do over here, and it's on mouse button down. Now it won't be here because I've obviously got it in here. And then we check if the right mouse button is the right mouse button, and then we check if the button that we are hovering on is in fact button craft, and if both of those things are true, then we're going to do something. If it's not, we do nothing. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to link into here. Okay, and we're going to add a custom event, and we're going to call it craft multi. What am I doing? We need a custom event. Okay, so we add custom event, and it's going to be craft multi, if I can spell it right, and it's basically going to plug straight into here. Now there is one thing we're going to do, and we're going to get a variable, and it's going to be called craft quantity. Oh, I better explain this. You're welcome, Shamur. I hope you gain something out of these videos. At the moment I'm working on something else. I'm going to give you actual tutorial videos rather than video tutorials within streams, okay? But probably in the next day or so I'll have one up. So back we go, and so we've got our variable, and it's going to be an integer. Now the point of all this, right? The point of all of this, and I'm going to show you quickly, is when we do our crafting, if we left click on an item, we craft 1. The intention is if you right click, you craft 5. Okay? And then we're going to extend that to a right click on this to delete this from the queue. Okay? So we shall stop it for now. That's the point of what we're doing at the moment. So what we'll do here is we'll set this value, and if they do it within the on clicked, which is the normal left click, we're going to set this value to 1. If they set it from the multi-craft, we are going to set this to 5. Okay, we may set these up later as variables, so that the player can decide how many a left click creates or a right click creates, but for the moment we shall just make it craft 1, craft 5. And then what we need to do is drag the variable in here and do this. And do the same thing here. So we shall duplicate that. Bring this in here. Now we're going to have to change all of our things slightly. Okay? Because now we're going to have to calculate other things. Like our usage is going to have to be determined by the quantity as well. And also the amount we remove from the player's inventory. And also the amount that the player gets back. Okay? So we shall test this first. We shall add a breakpoint here. And then we shall go onto our on mouse button. And we shall say craft item, craft multi. Okay. And then we shall say handled. Okay. So we can now test this. And if we right click, as you can see, we get our multi-craft. Okay, so that works absolutely perfectly. And the other instance that we want to check, actually, while we're at it, is the left click. And the left click still adds and doesn't hit multi-craft or anything. So as you can see, that works perfectly well for our purposes. And now we basically have to now go in and change our add item to list. And funnily enough, we have our values already there with our quantities. Okay, but and there is a but here, we have to change this can craft. Okay, so can craft will have to be changed. And we're going to have to add an input to it. And that's going to be the quantity and integer. So we shall go back to here and where was I exactly? Craft an item. So we are here. And this goes here. So we're now passing the quantity in, whether it's 1 or 5. And we need to check now by multiplying this number by 5. So this is the quantity required. Okay. And then we basically want to multiply this by the quantity that we pass in. We shall tidy this up a little bit here. Thanks, Shamir, and thanks for popping by. Much appreciated. So what we're going to do here now is we're going to multiply this and then we're going to check it against the final value in here. Okay, and that's going to return the quantity from the inventory, and it's going to tell us if we can build the whole 5 or not. Okay, so that is the first part of our problem. And we have our quantity, and is that, yeah, that's the index. So in actual fact we shall be doing that. We shall be pulling that value down from there. And that should give us our quantity. Now, I actually don't think we need to do anything more with this functionality. I think at this point we are actually done, because we don't ever process 5 at a time. We only process 1 at a time. So we aren't removing the number here. So let's test. The only issue I possibly have here is that our set text doesn't get updated properly. So if we add 1, and then resume, there we go. But it doesn't seem to be processing them. Well, yeah, it does. So we can add another 5. Okay. That's working well. So we can stop that a minute. And the last part of this is something very, very similar. So in here, when we create a widget list item, okay? We check this out, and we're going to set this to be a variable. VRD, we'll call it BRD remove, because that's going to be its function. And if we go to here and again create on mouse button down, and this was a pointer event, I'm pretty sure, we say is mouse button down, and it's keyboard, and it's not keyboard at all, it's the mouse. Right, so excuse me, it's not the mouse button, middle mouse button, it's the right mouse button down. Okay, and then if we check, get this, and we say is hovered, so this is going to basically function very, very similar to our right click on the other button. Right, and we shall align these right. Then we shall AND these together. So if that's both of those are true, then we shall branch off. Okay. And in here, we're going to say handled. Then I'm going to plug that in there. We can bring this right up if we want. I don't know which is the tidier, to be honest. So if that's not the case, we just bang that in there. And we're going to have to write a brand new event for this. So we shall compile that for now. We'll go back to our event graph. And this might be a little more this actually might be a little more difficult than first thought. Okay, what I'm going to do to start with is I'm going to say create a variable called parent, right? And I believe it's this. Yeah, it is. Okay. Now the point that we want to get to is this has the item list, which is fine. Right? So what we can do is we can say remove. We're not saying anything, we're saying custom event. We're saying custom event and remove index. Okay? So we shall zoom in on that a bit so you can see it a bit better. And it's definitely the crafting list, okay? So in here, what we're going to do is, this is going to be W crafting list. We're going to create a reference to a parent, and we are going to expose it on spawn so that when we create our crafting list here, we actually pass in the reference to self. So what we can do is say self, get a reference to self, and then pass that in. And what that allows us to do is then call this function here and then get a back reference to our item list. And then that will allow us to actually remove the index. So let's get on with that then. So this is called remove index. Okay, so in our list item we are doing our on mouse button down, and we're basically going to get the parent, and then we're going to say remove index. Okay. And we might not be done yet. We're going to have to get a reference to self. Now, I wonder if I can get the column. Right, so if we do this, that's a crafting list. We are passing in the column. Okay. Now, I think what we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to give this the column as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say column. Index. And the column index will match specifically with the column index that it is in the grid. Okay? And also the index that it is in the list of data. Okay? So again, we'll expose it on spawn just to make it easy for ourselves. And then in the crafting list, when we create it, we're going to refresh the nodes. Then we're going to get our column count. And we're going to pop it in there. Okay, so we now can pass back here. We can do an input here of the index that we're going to actually want to remove. Okay, so that's going to be an integer. And now in our item list, you'll notice we have an index there, and we just plug in the column index into here. Compile that. Why is that? Doesn't match any parameters. Move index. I'm guessing that's because we didn't compile this. There we go. Okay, so this is fairly straightforward now. What we want to do is get the item list, remove index, and the index is going to be this index. Okay. and then we basically rebuild the grid. And we are done. So let's try this out and see what we've got. You can continue that. Okay. So far so good, even though we haven't done anything. So we get our 5 and our 10. And if we right click, away it goes. No errors. Perfect. We can do that again. Okay, so that stays up. So basically we need to do one little thing here, which is remove from parent. We can do that. So we need to copy this code. In fact, if we do that, just for the moment, we can do that. Right? We can do that. And we can basically plug this straight in here. So if the list isn't empty at this point, we rebuild the grid, and if it is empty, we just remove this widget. And that, as they say, is that. So now if we do the same thing again, we shouldn't have there we go. Right. So there's one thing that we need to do here. I'm going to close that for now. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to press play. I'm going to continue that. I want to check this again. I was wondering what, yeah, this thing here. Right, so what we need to do here, this is going to have to be renamed for a kickoff because that's just the wrong spelling. And then, okay. So what we need to do is stop, clear timer, copy that, paste that, and I believe that starts this one as well, so we need to clear this one as well. So we're fundamentally just going to clear all the timers. So that it doesn't continue and then try and craft something while it's clearing up, and we shall see if that solves our issue. Okay, do that, click 10. Okay, why are you not doing anything? Okay, that's weird. Okay, what's going on there? We haven't changed anything. Okay, so let's make sure it's working as expected here. If I make one, apparently if I make one it doesn't do anything. For some reason this has stopped working. Okay. So we're definitely adding the item to the list, okay? Ah, wait a minute. I'm not doing it here. I'm not setting this. No, that's a red herring. Oh, I know why it is. It's because I didn't change this. Darn. Okay. A bit of a goof there. And we can check on this. So we get 1, 2, 1. Do that. And that right clicks. What is this? What is this? So if I go into my controller, we have bauxite, we have copper sheet, we have widget, we have a new thing, we have copper wire of 2, and nothing. Okay. So the only way this can be happening, right, is if this is still processing. So in theory, this is still getting fired one more time. So what we're going to do is we're going to say is cancelled, and we are going to put that in here. So we're going to say we're going to branch on that, and if this is cancelled, then it doesn't do this either way. So if cancelled equals true, then we don't do it. So we're going to put not, then we're going to plug that in there. Then we're going to plug true in there. Okay, and down here we're going to do that, and we're going to say actually that was wrong. We're going to set that as cancelled here. So we do that. And we put one more check in here. We basically say actually what we could do is we could do it here. We could say is we can't do an is valid. Okay. This might take a little more thought, come to think of it. So it's creating a copper wire. And it's kind of still doing it here. Now this is kind of bizarre. Because the only way that this can actually go in here is after the fact. What we'll do is I'm going to get a reference to self. And I'm going to check. I think this is because of the widget, but from what I can see here, the only thing that can be happening is right, if I do that, then I do that, right, and I do 1, 2, 3, then I destroy it, it's not destroying it. this remove parent. Hi Kofi, how you doing, mate? Right, I'm going to have to check this because this is a weird one. What's happening is I'm destroying the widget or removing it from the parent. It isn't stopping all code. Ah, it's an interesting problem, this. Okay, so apparently you can't destroy the remove parent does not destroy it. So we have to set it to is cancelled. And then we'd have to set as processing to false again. Well, that doesn't make much sense either, because what's the point of setting that if I can't set that by default? That's a bit weird. So I suppose it resets everything when you actually reference it again, or put it in, add it to the viewport again. But anyway, so let's try that again. So we can resume that. And then, yeah, that shouldn't fire again. So I'm hoping that's the solution, but it's a weird one. You're making a game, Kofi. What's your game about? And are you making it in Unreal Engine? Tell us about your game. Okay, so in the meantime, we'll call that a winner. And now that I've done this, now that I have done the on mouse button, I am tempted to start using this in the main menu itself to do this, rather than, because if we check the button itself, actually it's not going to work. Nah, forget that idea, scrap that idea. Okay, so now what I really need to do is think about what I'm going to do next. So it's a case of what's working, what's not working. Oh, that's what we were going to do last night before we had the power outage. Everything went down and that really got on my nerves. What we were going to do was, we have everything working here. You're making a war game. I'm sure I'll understand you, I'll work it out. The only thing that we haven't actually touched yet is options. And I actually have this kind of all done in another project, which I could use in a moment or two. But first of all, we're going to have a quick break, have a cigarette, and then Kofi can tell us all about his war game. If it's a network game, or if it's a single player game, if it's a first person shooter game, or what type of game it is. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Okay, Kofi, single player, I approve. The worst thing you can do is try and do multiplayer on your first ever attempt. That's about the worst thing you can do if you want to confuse yourself. Right, what I'm going to do is we are going to open another project, and now, am I going to migrate it or am I just going to copy it? Good question. I think what we'll do is we shall try and migrate it first. Right, so it is basically this one here, I believe. Yep. This might take a moment to load up. Oh, PS, anybody that's watching, if you have a crash and you want to see how to kind of recover, if you think you've lost everything, check out last night's video, the second one. It's a pretty short one. It's where I'm trying to recover from a crash, a power outage last night. So it basically gives you an idea if you can recover or not by using the autosaves. Okay, so we're just going to have to wait on this loading up for a second or two. In the meantime, what we could do is we could actually set our button up ready to go. So if we go to main game menu and the main game buttons, and that's not it, it's actually in the main menu. Right, so we shall, if we look at our main menu buttons and we check the graph and we click the options, we can basically duplicate this, then plug it into options, and then once we have our widget, we can just set it, and basically that'll be that, because this widget that I'm going to bring in is going to work right off the bat, I reckon. This is another piece of advice for you guys out there, beginners. Do a menu, because much copy and paste it into any project and you have a working menu. So it is always a good idea. So I'm going to show you the menu I'm going to bring in here. So this is the menu. It's got pretty much everything set up. It's all done on a widget switcher. We just need to change this obviously and change the colors. But we've got key bindings, voice, visuals, display, audio, you know, the full works. So as I said, a tip for you guys, do a menu, and in theory it'll teach you a lot, plus you'll never need to do another whole menu again, because you'll basically be able to cut and paste or migrate bits of a menu that you want. So I'm going to try migrating this across. And it looks like I can't, because it's given me it's basically wanting to fundamentally copy the whole project across. So I'm going to have to do it piece by piece. Well, actually not piece by piece, but what I'm going to do is open the menu and basically copy it, and then I'm going to come in here, I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it options, and then I'm going to create a new widget, and I'm going to call it W, and it should really be called mm_options. Then we're going to open it up, and I'm basically going to delete that, and then I'm going to select that and paste, and there we go. Right, we have now the first thing we're going to do here is I'm going to change this, and this is just going to be options, and then we're going to change the font to our simplificado. Then we're going to delete this line, and there we have our options. Okay, and now all I need to do is basically go through the text, select all the text elements. Okay, we'll do it bit by bit here. That'll do it for now. So we shall change these to the right text, and they're going to probably be black. So we'll OK that. And the buttons are probably going to be blue, but we'll work on that later. Then anything with text is going to get changed, right? So we select that, select that, select that, select that, then select that, and basically now we can just do that, and you'll notice we now have our max and min. Okay, and then we have our scale button, and that's got text on it, and we have this scale box, and this has a button on it, so we can select that. This is a scale box. Now you might be thinking to yourself, this is really slow, but it's a heck of a lot slower to create a brand new menu, I can tell you that. Right, so what we can do is click on them. Now we have master volume, blah blah blah. Now there is quite a few of these, because obviously you've got audio, display, visuals, key bindings, and voice. So we're going to have to go through all these, but as I said, it's just much easier to do this. So we've got the resolution, and the scale box, and there, got that, scale box, button there, got that, scale box, button there, and these are just all of our settings. It's just a laborious process, but as I said, it's a lot faster than doing it any other way, or rewriting the whole menu again, you know. So this is a combo box. We've got a button for anti-aliasing. Got one for post-processing. Got one for all your different texture quality. There's probably a quicker way of doing this as well. There's probably a quicker way of going down the tree than I'm doing here, which is manually. There's probably a way you can expand everything. But, you know, it'll work. Right, and we just select all them. There we go. And then, as I said, we just go through them one by one. This does the movement for us. Then we have actions, that one. Font family, that. We have another one here. There's something weird going on with that one, possessed actions. Some of these are going to have to change anyway, but you get the idea that once you've done a menu, one of them, you're back in business. Okay, for a moment there I thought I'd actually switched off the mic or something. Right, I just had a horrible feeling that I've went through this talking away and nobody's heard the thing. This microphone one probably can go, but we'll just do them all anyway, because what we might do is find different uses for these in our game. We can do that, we can do that, and we can do that. And basically the thing now is to get our colour, right? And there we go. Now, the other issue with that is it isn't see-through. But the problem is that it's using an image. So if we OK that, right? Now, this isn't bright enough, I know that. So let's grab that, OK that, then copy that and paste that. Okay, that doesn't want to play nice. Oh, that's because it's hovered. Paste. Okay, so I don't know why this doesn't want to play ball, but anyway. And that's just on the hovered and the pressed. So we can do that. Copy that. We should be able to just paste this straight in. There we go. Right, so, and it's basically the same for this one here. So we paste that, remove that. We paste that, remove that. And we paste that and remove that. Right, are you going to do this or not? Right, there we go. Right, so now we're kind of back at the buttons, and that's actually using some sort of an image. Draw as none. Well, that's not really what we want. It just draws this box, sorts it out for us. Box. I mean, I can go and fix all these. So basically, we have our audio buttons. These are our widgets, switchers. These are these things here. Okay. And the first thing is basically this button here. And if we paste in there, we paste that in there, we paste that in there, and similarly we have to do exactly the same. As I said, this is a tedious job, cutting and pasting, but it's still much faster than creating the whole thing again. And it basically gives us our fundamental starting point for our right. So we want the FX volume. So we have the master volume, then we have the music volume, and now we want the FX volume. So we can paste that in there, cancel that, paste that in there, and paste that in there. Then if we remove that, and remove that, we now have a straight box. Okay, and these buttons here, similarly, I don't know if we can do this. Yes, we can do these all at once. Right, so we can basically remove that, and that's got none and that's got none. So all we need to do now is paste that in there. Right, so you get the point. It's beginning to look as if it's ours again, and part of our game. Okay, so this is now called options. So if I now go into here, and in options I go, it's going to be options, and save that. Now when we go in here and I click options, we have our options, and you'll notice that they don't do anything, which is awesome. So basically that's because it doesn't save the graphs from these different things, but our whole thing is set up. So in actual fact, that's not going to take us very long at all to actually sort this out. Okay, so if I stop it for now and I check out my previous grid, or sorry, widget, I can look at the graph, and then I can copy across from here when the buttons are clicked. So I'm going to find the references. Right, and if you watch this, guys. Oh, wait a minute. If I copy this, okay, we go back into our widget, we go to our graph, and you'll notice nothing's here, so we'll delete that, and then the first thing we'll do is that. And cancel that. Okay. I think we can still do this. Just give me a second. We're not dead in the water yet. We can do that. Copy that. Paste it. Confirm. Now, I'm not sure if this is yeah, this is an actual function. Now, I'm not 100% sure why I'm doing this, but we shall copy this across as well. Right, so we create a function. And, yeah, I know why I'm doing it. Change. Right, it's when you click one of the tabs, basically we have to update the tabs. To whether they're like black or white or which one is selected. Right, so what we'll do is we'll copy this part of the code and then we'll see what we've got to fix as far as this is concerned. And we don't really need to fix anything, but this is going to have an input. And I'm pretty sure it's just called index. And it's going to be an integer. And then that is basically going to go straight in here. Okay. And we're going to have to check what this is. Right? Because we're obviously setting this value somewhere. But if we go back to our change button focus, and we can create that variable. Is it not got that variable? Apparently not. Okay. So this is int current switcher index. So what we're doing here is we're finding out, we're setting what the current widget index is, so that we can show it and update everything else. So we've done that, and we can now refresh that. These all disappear, so that's cool. and we should be able to refresh all of these nodes. As you can see, oh damn. As you can see guys, this is a lot faster than recreating the whole thing. Refresh nodes, and basically it's just going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that one's going to be 4. This one's going to be 3. This one's going to be 2. This is going to be 1. That's going to stay at 0. So the final thing is, this is not a local variable. So basically what I've done here is I've set a button style for whether the button is enabled or disabled. So we can basically do the same thing in here. Right, if we can get this sorted properly. So we're setting style, button enabled. This is basically, all this is doing is it's going to store a button style, right? And one's going to be like blue and one's going to be black, or whichever two colors we decide on, right? But that's all it is. So there's nothing black magic here going on. You don't need to worry about that. All I'm actually doing is setting up a couple of default styles. Alright, and we just duplicate this. And this is the one for disabled. Right, so once I've created this, I shall show exactly what these relate to, okay? So basically, if we look at the designer, it's going to be this. These aren't all going to be the same color. There's 4 of them going to be the same color, and one of them is one of them's going to be enabled, which means it'll be the inverse, you know, to signify that that's the one you're looking at. So say you clicked on display, then display would go white on black, the rest would stay as they are, and they would obviously change. And these are all controlled by the button enabled and the style button disabled, okay? So if we actually go in here now and we go to our change button, you'll notice that this is now okay. It was an error before, but now it is compiled. Okay? And the final part of the puzzle is I can now go back, copy these last particular points. So if I copy that, then I go back to here, and then I paste these in, right? Then now this change button focus, this new parameter should be called index. Okay, so we'll change that, and this should be index. Why did it not change? Why did you not change? This should be index. Apparently it doesn't want to. Apparently it doesn't want to change. Okay, whatever. Doesn't make any difference to me for the moment. Right, so that's basically we change these. Well, we don't because they're already even set for us. All we need to do is connect them up. Right, so we just go connect. As I said, guys, before, this is the beauty of already having done a menu. The functionality in a menu pretty much stays the same. So you have the code already. So that's why I always say to everybody, do a menu first. And you pretty much never have to worry about it again. So now, if we come in here, you'll notice that it works. Okay. Some stuff I need to change, obviously the colours, but we have half of a working menu. How cool is that? So now we shall basically go back to our designer and we know, let's just check that again, which of these values were wrong. We go to our options and then, so audio, see, you see how it's not the colours we want, right? Except it kinda is. Except it kinda isn't. Right, so voice, probably don't need voice anyway. Okay, so display is the wrong color, right? So all we need to do is stop this just now. And basically get the ones for the sound. No, it's for the display. And we can do that easily by minimizing this, then extending that, and this is our first one. That's the horizontal box for that. Then we have our border, and here's our widget switcher, right? So in our widget switcher, if we close this down, because that's the bottom one, so in our widget switcher now, we've got CP audio, which we've done. Then display, this is the one that we haven't done, I don't think. Let's try this. Yeah, you can see it there, it's the one we've not done. And VSync enabled. Right, and right, okay, that's the text. What we want is the button. Right, okay. So we get the buttons, and now we can change these to the right values. And it's not letting us do it here with this button. There we go. Okay. And we have our checkbox space thing. And we should have a background color. Yeah, there's a style there. So basically, we change these. Apparently we don't have the thing anymore, which is kinda awesome. That's not bright enough. Right, we're gonna do this. And that's not really what I wanted to do. Right, made a bit of a goof there. So it was this thing here. Right. And that's obviously not great. Now, I didn't want to do that. I did not want to do that. Well, in the meantime, I suppose we could change all these. That's combo box, foreground color, background color. I think what I'll do is I'll end the stream here, right? Because this is just going to be me going through various different combo boxes and stuff and just updating the color. And even at that point, the color needs to be standardized anyway, so I'm just kind of showing you how quickly you can actually put a menu together when you've actually got a menu in the first place. Right, you can just basically cut and paste stuff in from the code, from the actual widget itself, from one project to another. And on that, as I said, I think I'll finish the stream for now, because it's going to be pretty boring for you guys to watch me cutting and pasting and changing colours. So, if you've enjoyed the stream and you've learned a bit, check out the description for Patreon, Discord, all that stuff. And if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. And I shall catch you tonight at 8 PM Central Time. Bye bye for now.